story about a woman born near the turn of the 20th century. She went to work in the factories in elementary school, hiding in a 55-gallon drum when the child labor inspectors would come. She married young, lived modestly, and had 5 children, 27 grandchildren, and 29 great-grandchildren by the time she left this world. When I was growing up, the legend of Anna Casey loomed large in the Crystal Park neighborhood of Canton, Ohio. Her neighbor once told me a story of how Anna Casey would make great pots of chicken pot pie, and the families from the neighborhood would come to their back door and get dinner 4 or 5 nights a week during the Great Depression. My dad tells me a story of how they lived in a small home with red asbestos shingles. The home just wasn't big enough for the 4 girls and 1 boy, so Anna decided they needed a bigger house down the street. Well, my grandfather Sid wanted nothing to do with moving. He was a man who was set in his ways. In only the way that Anna could, she smiled at Sid and she told him, "Sid, you don't have to come, but I'm moving down to the bigger house down the street." Well, he came and they moved. I was actually born in the small house with the red asbestos shingles down the street from Anna Casey. My mom worked as a waitress and my dad worked in the steel mill. I spent a lot of time at the bigger house down the street. Grandma and Grandpa never had much money, but their house was always full of family and friends on Christmas Eve. They spared no expense. I can still hear the sounds of singing and laughter and joy that permeated that house. I remember being a rebellious teen. As I got toward my teen years, I would usually stay at Grandma's house on Saturday nights, and I always wanted to stay up late. Grandma never fought with me. She smiled, and she would tell me that we would watch the Carol Burnett show together. I would lay my head down on her lap and watch, and she would stroke my hair. I never made it to the end of the show. In my troubled teen years, I started getting bad grades and skipping school. As Grandma listened to my problems, she never belittled me or made me feel bad about how I felt. Instead, she encouraged me, and she would tell me that we both knew that I was smart and that these problems were just an excuse for me not to do my best. I never wanted to let her down. Grandma Casey was at my wedding, but she never got to meet my daughter, Anna Casey. My daughters lived up to that name, but that's a different story for a different day. I remember when she died. The line to get into the small funeral home was out the door and around the block in the freezing cold. It went on for hours. Everyone came to pay their respects to this giant small lady. Anna Casey showed me how to live, and she showed me how to die. I think each of us has a person in our lives who teaches us to believe in ourselves. Who is that person for you? Do they know they were that person for you? Anna Casey showed me how to believe in myself by having a selfless, unconditional belief in me, even when I didn't deserve it. Thank you, Grandma. I love you, and I miss you.